How do you handle failure? Now, unfortunately, if we go back many years, well, for me anyway, many years back to school, there was probably some stage where we did something stupid in class. You might have called the teacher mom or dad, or you might have answered a question with some ridiculous answer, and because of that you were totally ridiculed by the class. You know, the classroom is supposed to be some place that you're supposed to gain knowledge, but for a lot of people the only thing that they learn from classrooms is the kind of fear of failure, of making a fool of yourself in front of everybody else, and especially making a fool in front of your friends. You know, it's acceptable to make a fool out of yourself in front of complete strangers, but when you do it in front of your friends, it does sting a little bit more. So for many of us, we probably have come from school with this big fear of failure, of making a show of yourself in public. And how you handle failure in your later life and in your business will kind of be a marker for how successful you're going to be. You know, if you are somebody who has a novel right now, when you have it on your hard drive, it's in a little safe space. Nobody's seen it, nobody can criticize it, nobody can give it a bad book review, and you know, it's natural just to leave it there. You know, maybe, you know, pat yourself on the back or on the chest and say, well done, I have finished a novel. But the whole world isn't going to get a chance to read it because you have a fear that it's going to be slated, it's going to be torn apart, and that little baby of yours is going to go down in flames. And unfortunately, a lot of people will spend years and years working on manuscripts and never ever releasing them. Or what is your fear of failure? You know, at the moment I have done, I think, well over 130 of these videos and podcasts. Now, I can't say that the quality in every single one of them was perfect, and I can't say that, you know, everything that you should listen to all 130, because I know in my heart that some are better than others. I know some days I was a bit more fired up, some days maybe I had a better idea, so not all of those episodes are going to be successful. And I know if I go back through maybe the YouTube stats for all these videos, I will find that some of these videos will never ever probably get a viewer. They might get one or two, but that's it. And if I was to look at those kind of, you know, small viewings on those videos, it can be a little bit heartbreaking that, you know, you put effort in that day but you're not getting any reward in it. Now, that is if you are looking at your work and your videos, whatever, through the lens of failure. You know, if you look at it that, well, that video was a complete failure. But sometimes if you put a little bit of a spin on it, and sometimes if you maybe have a look at correcting your mindset, you can learn a lot from failure. You know, I can look at some of those videos as a complete failure, that they were a waste of my time, that I spent 10 minutes or so walking around this field and nobody is going to pick up maybe a little bit of nugget from that video. But if I was to turn it around and look at it at a mindset kind of point of view, I can see that yes, that video might be a failure, but that is one video that I have created along the way to all the many videos I am creating and the videos in the future. And each video I do, I know I'm getting a little bit more confident on screen. I'm probably coming up with better ideas, I'm probably telling better stories, I'm probably coming along a little bit better. So even if I did maybe 140 videos and all of those were a complete failure, I'm sure if you went to video 1 today and then you went to the very end one, 140, I'm sure you could notice a big difference in how I come across in these videos, because I have kind of put my reps in, as Arnold would say. I did them over and over again and I perfected on what I've done. So whatever your thoughts are on failure, if you are somebody who looks at it at being kind of a knock of your character or makes you feel less about yourself, maybe you aren't going to be as successful as you think you are going to be, because at some stage some book review or some comment is going to shoot you down in flames and you're going to give up on that day because, you know, you're a complete failure. Nobody's reading your books, nobody's sharing your books, nobody's liking your books, nobody's giving you any book reviews. But if you look at it on the other side, with a little correction to your mindset, every time you sat down to write, you got a little bit better. Every book you write will get a little bit better. In fact, you know, if you keep showing up every day, it's virtually impossible for you to get worse. You may see, well, I'm not improving over time. Things aren't. I can't see my books getting better. I can't see my writing get better. I have hit that plateau, and sometimes you will find you will hit a plateau for a while. Some days it will look like your skills aren't getting better, your writing isn't getting any better, maybe my videos aren't getting any better. But for some reason it happens to sit there for a while, and then all of a sudden you take a quantum leap, and then suddenly your writing gets far better, your videos get better, and all those different things. But because you haven't stayed at that plateau, still showing up, still beating on your craft, you're going to miss out on that quantum leap. And as I said, I've seen many an expert talk about that. For the longest time they couldn't improve maybe their running times or whatever it is. They were constantly kind of coming up again and again and again, failing, and then for whatever reason it's like somebody just put an extra Duracell battery or something into them, and suddenly they sprang forward, and all of a sudden they had a better talent than they had before. They could run faster or whatever it is. But if they had looked at that plateau as a failure, that they weren't going to improve, they would never stick in the game long enough for that improvement to take place. So what I want you to do today is think about how you approach failure. Do you take failure on as a big mistake, a goof up, a kind of slight on your character, that you're less of a person because you're failing, because you're making all these stupid mistakes? Do you look at yourself that way? And if you do, maybe it's time to get a couple of books on mindset. Maybe it's time to look at all those failures as what they are, something that you did that didn't work, and maybe it's time for you just to do maybe a course correction. Sometimes you can learn a lot from a failure, and you might learn far more than you can from a success. You might find, well, that book wasn't successful, maybe if I just alter my path a little bit more, maybe go into a different genre, suddenly you could have the success that you're looking for. Now I do apologise, there's a strong wind blowing this morning in my face, so apologies about this. But you will find that if you look at failure as failure, you're never going to get anywhere. You're going to drop out. You're going to drop out before your audience turns up. As I said, some of these videos I've created, nobody would probably ever see them, and if I look at it that way, I'd probably give up today. I wouldn't bother my face showing up, because why should I? Nobody is watching my videos. But I know, as I said, every video I do, I improve, I get a little bit better, I probably come across a lot more naturally. So if I get a chance maybe to go on somebody's podcast maybe in a couple of months' time, I have all this kind of work experience behind me, so that I am not as kind of stiff and rigid as maybe some people are when they're on a podcast, because I have done so many videos. So keep that in mind today. Don't look at failure as failure, because if you do, you'll drop out of the game, because you're not getting the results you're not getting, and you're afraid that everybody's going to laugh at you. So instead, look at every opportunity as what it is. It's a chance for you to take an action, and if you get that action wrong, well, then you just go back to creating another action and see what the result is of that one. And it's almost like a scientist with experiments. You're constantly trying out one thing after another, and not everything is going to work, but you will find maybe that some things work better than others, and then take on that experience, take the notes, and then do your next little experiment, whatever it is you need to do, creating videos, maybe writing a new genre or whatever. Take on another little experiment, try that out, and then note what the results were like, and again just tinker and tweak as you go along, and you will find you'll kind of probably zigzag your way to where you want to get. But don't look at failure as failure, because if you do, unfortunately, as I said, you're probably going to give up. Now, before I end up, I want to tell you a story about Steve Martin. Now, you probably are well aware of Steve Martin, the comedian. He hasn't been in many videos as lately, but for the longest time he was in a lot of videos in the 70s and 80s and 90s. And Steve Martin had done stand-up comedy for 18 years. Now, he said the first 10 years were learning his craft, the next 4 years was improving his craft, and the last 4 years was to a kind of raging success that he had. So out of those 18 years, it was only the last 4 years that was where he reaped the rewards of the other 14 years. So in 18 years, it was only 4 years of success. And I want you to think about that. Would you be willing to put in 14 years of work to get 4 years of great success? Now, you can look at what Steve Martin is and probably the money he's made, the movies he's been in and all that, and you can look at that and say, wow, I'd love to be where he is. I'd love to be in front of an audience making them laugh. I'd love to be in Hollywood making movies. But if you have a failure mentality, would you have stuck in the 14 years for as long as that to get those 4 years of success? So think about that today. And again, maybe it's time to have a look at how you look at failure, tweak it a little bit, and look at it as more of a learning experience or an experiment that has gone wrong, and maybe you just need to try out another experiment the next time. So as always, I hope this video has helped somebody. But if you'd like to find more of this great content, go on to Google and do a search for WriteCome. You'll find the videos, the Instagrams, the memes, whatever. You'll find them all over the web. And again, if you'd like to find out what we're writing about on the WriteCome site, go to WriteCome, WriteCome.com, and we'd be glad to see you over there. So as always, have a great day. Take care. Bye bye.